Gampco, Mississippi, April 1945. Oberleutnant Honora sat in the recreation hall, her eyes fixed on the notice board announcement that had just altered everything. Repatriation procedures for German prisoners would begin in approximately 6 months. All prisoners must prepare for their return to Germany once the war ends. 6 months. 6 months until she would return to a Germany that no longer existed, bombed cities, shattered infrastructure, millions of displaced people, and a society that would condemn her for surviving captivity when so many had perished. 6 months until she left behind the country that had treated her with more dignity as a prisoner than her own military had shown her as an officer. "They're really sending us back," Liesl Hoffmann, a former Luftwaffe communications specialist who had become Anna's closest friend during 8 months of American captivity, said quietly. Back to rubble and starvation and occupation. Anna watched through the window as American soldiers carried out their daily tasks with the kind of casual efficiency that, to her, now seemed like competence rather than sloppiness. Among them was Sergeant James Cooper, who supervised the prisoner work program and had been kind and patient during her kitchen assignment. Their friendship, born from mutual respect, defied the rigid rules of German military protocol, but flourished due to American informality. What if we didn't go back? Liesl's voice broke through Anna's thoughts, hinting at a possibility that had been quietly growing in Anna's mind for weeks. What if we found a way to stay here? The suggestion was treasonous, dishonorable, a betrayal of everything Anna had sworn to serve. Yet after 8 months of American captivity, every belief she held about honor, duty, and loyalty had been challenged. If staying in America meant building a future rather than returning to a devastated past, could that really be betrayal, or was it simply survival? How could we stay? Anna asked, though she already knew the answer. Every prisoner knew about the American immigration laws and the one legal pathway that allowed enemy aliens to remain in the United States. Marriage to an American citizen. Some of the women are already talking about it, Liesl continued. Maria's been spending time with Corporal Peterson. Greta's been meeting with Private Williams during recreation periods. They're all thinking the same thing. Marrying Americans might be the only way to avoid going back to Germany. Anna felt her stomach twist at the enormity of what they were discussing. Marrying the enemy, choosing American soldiers over German loyalty, opting for personal happiness over national duty. The Wehrmacht officer she had been a year ago would have regarded such actions as unforgivable. But she wasn't that officer anymore. 8 months in captivity had shown her a society far more prosperous, generous, and democratic than German propaganda had ever allowed her to see. America had defeated Germany not through brutality, but through industrial power, organizational strength, and values that treated even enemy prisoners with dignity and respect. James asked me to have coffee with him after my shift today, Anna admitted. Private coffee in the staff recreation area, I think. I think he wants to discuss something serious. Liesl's expression shifted between understanding and concern. Are you considering it? Actually considering marrying an American to stay here? Anna didn't answer immediately. She thought about Sergeant Cooper's kindness, about the comfortable life American families seemed to enjoy even during wartime, and about the opportunities in a country that valued individual initiative and rewarded hard work. Then her thoughts drifted to her family in Hamburg. If they had survived the bombing, would she face the judgment of Germans, who would see her choice as the ultimate betrayal? I'm considering staying alive and building a future, Anna said finally. If that means marrying an American soldier, is that really worse than returning to a ruined Germany where former Wehrmacht officers will be met with suspicion and deprivation? Through the window, she saw Sergeant Cooper walking across the compound toward the recreation hall. In 20 minutes, they would have their private conversation, and Anna would face a decision that would shape the rest of her life. Return to a defeated homeland, or stay in America by marrying a man who embodied everything she had been taught to consider an enemy. The decision should have been simple for a German officer, but nothing about this war or its aftermath had been simple. The choice between honor and survival was far more complicated than Wehrmacht training had ever allowed. The staff recreation area was smaller and cozier than the prisoner facilities, equipped with comfortable chairs and a coffee service that brewed genuine American coffee, something Anna had come to appreciate during her captivity. When Sergeant Cooper saw her enter, he stood, his face a mixture of nervousness and determination, signaling that Liesel's intuition had been right. "Miss Arthur Anna, thank you for meeting me," he began, gesturing toward the coffee service. "Would you like some coffee before we talk?" They went through the ritual of preparing the coffee, each of them using the time to collect their thoughts for a conversation that would be difficult no matter what the outcome. Anna studied Cooper carefully, 32 years old, from Ohio, with a degree in agricultural engineering. Before the war, Sergeant Cooper had planned to return to farming after his discharge. He had spoken about his family's farm during their kitchen work sessions, describing a life of rural prosperity that seemed almost fantastical compared to German agricultural conditions. "Anna," he began once they were seated, "I'm going to be direct because I think you value honesty more than diplomatic indirection. I've developed feelings for you that go beyond friendship, strong feelings that make me want to explore whether we might have a future together." "A future together?" Anna repeated carefully, her English precise despite the weight of the conversation. "You mean marriage? You're asking if I would consider marrying you instead of returning to Germany?" "I'm asking if you share my feelings first," Cooper corrected gently. "Marriage only makes sense if there's genuine affection, not just practical convenience. I won't be a green card for you, Anna, but if you feel what I feel, then yes, I'm offering marriage and a life in America. Instead of repatriation to Germany, the directness was characteristic of the American way of communication that Anna had come to appreciate. No elaborate indirection, no euphemisms, just an honest statement of intent. She considered his words carefully, analyzing her own emotions with the same precision that had made her an effective Wehrmacht intelligence officer. Did she have feelings for James Cooper? Yes, undeniably. The kindness he had shown during her adjustment to captivity, the patient way he had taught her about American culture, the respect he maintained when other guards treated prisoners dismissively, these all contributed to genuine affection. Far beyond mere gratitude for good treatment. "I do have feelings for you," she admitted, "but I need you to understand what you're offering and what I would be accepting. If I marry you, Germans will consider me a traitor. My family, if they survived, will be shamed by association. Former Wehrmacht personnel will see me as someone who betrayed her country for personal comfort. And Americans might see you as an enemy who married a soldier just for citizenship," Cooper acknowledged. "My family might have trouble accepting a German daughter-in-law. Neighbors might question whether you're truly reformed or just pretending for legal status. This won't be easy in captivity. They had sworn oaths to serve Germany. Marrying Americans and staying in enemy territory violated everything they had pledged to honor. What Germany?" Maria Steiner, who had been meeting with Corporal Peterson for months, countered. "The Germany we swore to serve doesn't exist anymore. Cities are destroyed. Millions are dead. Our leaders committed atrocities that will shame our nation for generations. Staying loyal to that Germany seems less honorable than building new lives in a country that offers actual futures." Anna found herself unexpectedly defending the choice to stay, drawing on arguments she had been developing in her own mind. Wehrmacht oaths were made to leaders who betrayed us, and a system that led Germany to catastrophic defeat, she said. "I don't believe continuing loyalty to a failed ideology is more honorable than building productive lives in a society that values what we can contribute." "You're rationalizing," Mueller accused. "You're dressing up desertion and collaboration in philosophical language. You want to stay in America for comfort and prosperity, not for any principled reason. Is wanting comfort and prosperity wrong?" Anna shot back. Germans were told to sacrifice everything for national glory. And where did that lead? To defeat, destruction, and moral catastrophe. Maybe America's emphasis on individual prosperity over national sacrifice is actually more honest and sustainable than German ideology proved to be. The debates continued throughout the day, with prisoners dividing into three camps: those determined to return to Germany regardless of the conditions, those actively pursuing American marriages to stay, and those uncertain about which choice represented greater honor or wisdom. How many women are seriously considering staying? Liddell asked during a private conversation that evening. At least 15 from our compound, Anna replied, having quietly surveyed opinions among the 48 female prisoners at Camp Co. And I've heard similar numbers from other camps. Across all American prisoner facilities, there might be hundreds, maybe thousands, of German women choosing to stay through marriage. That's a significant number, Liesel observed. Enough to become a genuine social phenomenon rather than isolated individual choices. Over the following weeks, Anna navigated the complex bureaucracy of prisoner-to-immigrant marriage. American military authorities had established procedures for these situations, recognizing that romantic relationships between guards and prisoners were inevitable given months of daily interaction. The process required background checks, character references, and evidence that the relationship was genuine and not just a marriage of convenience. "We need to provide evidence of genuine affection," explained Captain Williams, the officer overseeing marriage applications at Camp Co. "Letters you've exchanged, testimony from other personnel about your relationship. You must show this isn't just a green card marriage. The immigration authorities are skeptical about prisoner marriages. So we need comprehensive documentation." Anna and Cooper compiled the necessary evidence, letters they had exchanged during her kitchen assignment, testimonies from other guards about their growing relationship, and documentation of Cooper's family's willingness to sponsor Anna's immigration. The process was exhausting and invasive, requiring them to justify their private feelings to bureaucratic authorities who viewed prisoner marriages with suspicion. "Do you ever regret starting this process?" Anna asked Cooper during one particularly frustrating documentation session. "We could have kept our relationship private, and you could have avoided all this bureaucratic scrutiny." "Never," Cooper replied firmly. "You're worth the paperwork, Anna. Building a life with you is worth whatever hassles the immigration system throws at us." The sentiment was romantic but also practical. Characteristic of their relationship, they balanced genuine affection with a clear-eyed recognition of the challenges they faced. They were building something unprecedented, and such things always required extra effort. By June 1945, as Germany's unconditional surrender made prisoner repatriation imminent, Anna had submitted her formal marriage application and immigration paperwork. Approval would take months, but the process was in motion, transforming her from a German prisoner to a potential American immigrant through marriage to a former enemy. "How do you feel about your choice?" Liesel asked one evening as they prepared for lights out. "Uncertain," Anna admitted. "Hopeful but uncertain. I'm choosing James and America over Germany and my past. That feels both liberating and like betrayal. Maybe both reactions are valid. Maybe this choice is too complex for simple emotional categories." In the darkness of the barracks, surrounded by other German women making similar choices, or agonizing over whether to make them, Anna reflected on how thoroughly war had disrupted traditional categories of loyalty, honor, and national identity. She was becoming something unprecedented. A German woman choosing American life, an enemy prisoner becoming an immigrant bride. Someone whose personal choices would be judged by both societies for the rest of her life. August 1945 brought atomic bombs, Japanese surrender, and the war's final moments. But Anna's transformation was already in motion. Surrender and the official end of World War II meant accelerated repatriation procedures for German prisoners, forcing final decisions about whether to return to Germany or stay in America through marriage. Anna's application had been approved, and her wedding was set for September, just days before the first repatriation ships would depart for Germany. "You're really doing it," Liesel said, helping Anna prepare for the civil ceremony that would be held in the camp chapel with minimal witnesses. "Marrying an American and staying in enemy territory." "Not enemy territory anymore," Anna corrected. "The war is over. America is just home now, or it will be after the wedding." The ceremony was simple, almost stark compared to the elaborate German weddings Anna had attended before the war. Captain Williams officiated. Cooper's sister attended as a witness, along with 2 American friends, while Liesel stood as Anna's only representative from her former life. No family members from either side. Cooper's parents couldn't travel to Mississippi, and Anna's family in Hamburg wasn't reachable, even if they had survived. "Do you, Anna Richter, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" Williams asked in formal English, which the translator rendered into German for the record. Anna responded in English. "A deliberate choice." "I do." 2 words that severed her official ties to Germany and bound her legally to an American soldier she had once been his prisoner. 2 words that transformed her identity from enemy to spouse, from Wehrmacht officer to American wife. The kiss that sealed the marriage was gentle and slightly awkward, observed by witnesses who represented both the unprecedented nature of their union and the bureaucratic necessity of documenting that the marriage was genuine, not just for immigration convenience. Anna felt a mixture of overwhelming emotion, joy, relief, sadness, anxiety, feelings that defied simple categorization. "Congratulations, Mrs. Cooper," Williams said formally after the ceremony. "Your immigration status has been adjusted from prisoner of war to spouse of an American citizen. You're free to leave the camp and begin your new life." Free. The word carried weight that Anna hadn't fully anticipated. She was no longer a prisoner, no longer subject to repatriation, no longer German in any legal sense. She was Anna Cooper, American immigrant, wife of a soldier, someone whose future now lay in Ohio farming communities, not Hamburg's ruins. "How does it feel?" Cooper asked as they walked out of the chapel toward the car that would take them to temporary housing while his discharge was processed. "Terrifying," Anna admitted honestly. "I just married a man I've known for 8 months, committed to a country that was my enemy a year ago, and cut all legal ties to my homeland." "Terrifying seems like the minimum appropriate response." "But also right," Cooper prompted. "Also right," Anna confirmed. Terrifying and right simultaneously. In the following week, Anna experienced her first days as a free American immigrant. She moved into base housing with Cooper, shopped in American stores without guards, and began the process of learning how to navigate American society as a civilian rather than a prisoner. Each new experience reinforced her decision while also highlighting how foreign her new country remained. "You'll need to learn to drive," Cooper mentioned casually while discussing their eventual move to Ohio. "Farm life requires personal transportation, and public transit is limited in rural areas." The comment reminded Anna of how different American life was from the German experience. Personal automobiles for ordinary families, vast rural distances requiring individual mobility, and society organized around the assumption that citizens would own cars and navigate independently. These weren't luxuries in America. They were baseline expectations that Anna would need to meet. "I'll learn," she promised, adding driving lessons to her growing list of skills she needed to master for successful integration into American society. Meanwhile, the repatriation ships departed for Germany, carrying prisoners who had chosen to return home despite the hardships awaiting them. Anna watched from the base's visitor area as former comrades boarded buses that would take them to port facilities, many weeping as they said goodbye to American abundance and faced uncertain German futures. "Do you regret staying?" Liesel asked. She had also married an American soldier, Lieutenant Wilson, and would be moving to California instead of returning to Germany. Not regret, Anna replied carefully, but guilt, definitely. We're choosing comfort while they face devastation. We're abandoning Germany when it needs rebuilding. Those choices have moral weight, even if I believe they're justified. We can help Germany from here, Lysel suggested. Send money, sponsor immigration for family members, support reconstruction efforts. Staying in America doesn't mean abandoning the German people, just abandoning failed German ideology. The rationalization helped, but Anna knew she would spend years working through the complex emotions of her choice. She had chosen personal happiness over national loyalty, individual prosperity over collective suffering, and an American future over a German past. Those choices might be justified, but they weren't simple, and they would shape her identity for the rest of her life. September 1945 brought Cooper's military discharge and their move to Ohio, where Anna would begin the difficult process of integrating into rural American society as a former enemy and immigrant bride. The train journey from Mississippi to Cooper's hometown of Greenville took 2 days, during which Anna watched the American landscape pass by and tried to imagine herself belonging to this vast, prosperous country. "My family is nervous about meeting you," Cooper admitted during the journey. "They've never known a German person, and their only information about Germany comes from war news and propaganda. You'll need to be patient while they adjust to the reality of who you are versus their assumptions about what Germans are like." The warning proved accurate. Cooper's parents, solid Midwestern farmers in their 60s, greeted Anna with visible uncertainty mixed with determined politeness. His mother's first words were telling, "Well, you don't look like a Nazi." "I wasn't a Nazi," Anna replied carefully, drawing on explanations she'd been practicing. "I was a Wehrmacht officer who served Germany because that was expected, not because I believed in Nazi ideology. Like millions of other Germans, I was caught in a system I didn't create and couldn't escape." "But you wore their uniform," Cooper's father observed, not hostile but genuinely questioning. "You served their military. How do we know you've really changed your beliefs rather than just pretending for immigration purposes?" The question was blunt but fair. Anna had been asking herself similar questions since deciding to stay in America. Had she genuinely rejected German ideology, or was she simply pragmatic about accepting American values for personal gain? "I don't know if I can prove my sincerity to your satisfaction," Anna said honestly. "I can tell you that 8 months of American captivity taught me that almost everything I'd been told about America and American values was propaganda. I can show you through my actions that I'm committed to building an American life, but ultimately, you'll have to decide whether to trust me based on observation rather than my claims about internal transformation." The honesty seemed to resonate with Cooper's parents more than elaborate assurances would have. Over the following weeks, as Anna adjusted to farm life and small-town Ohio society, she demonstrated her commitment through work, learning, and genuine integration efforts rather than just words. But integration proved challenging. Greenville's population of 3,200 included many families who had lost sons or husbands in the European theater. Anna's German accent and background made her a visible reminder of enemy forces that had killed their loved ones. Some neighbors were welcoming, while others maintained a cold distance that made it clear she wasn't fully accepted. "Mrs. Cooper," said one woman at church, the formal address emphasizing distance despite Anna's marriage to the local son. "I lost my brother at Normandy. He died fighting Germans like you. I know you're James's wife now, but I can't pretend that makes us friends." "I understand," Anna replied, recognizing that some wounds required time rather than immediate reconciliation. "I'm not asking for friendship, just acknowledgement that I'm here, that I'm committed to building an American life, and that I'm not personally responsible for every German soldier's actions." The exchange typified Anna's early months in Ohio. cautious acceptance mixed with unresolved hostility. People were willing to give her a chance, while others would never forgive her German origins. She learned to navigate these complex social dynamics with the same analytical skills she had applied to Wehrmacht intelligence work, understanding that integration would be a long process rather than an immediate achievement. Meanwhile, letters began arriving from Germany, few and far between, due to the chaos of the post-war mail systems. Anna's mother had survived Hamburg's destruction and wrote with mixed emotions about her daughter's choice. Pride that Anna was alive, and building a future mixed with shame that her daughter had married an American and abandoned Germany. "Your father would have been heartbroken," her mother wrote. "He served Germany with honor through 2 wars, and now his daughter wears the enemy nation's ring. But I'm grateful you survived and found safety, even if it means losing you to America." The guilt Anna had been carrying intensified with each letter from Germany, describing conditions her former countrymen faced: starvation, homelessness, Allied occupation, and collective shame over Nazi atrocities. She had chosen abundance over scarcity, but that choice meant her mother struggled in bombed Hamburg. While Anna enjoyed rural Ohio's prosperity, "We can send money," Cooper suggested when Anna showed him her mother's letters. "Help your family rebuild. Being American doesn't mean abandoning Germans who are suffering." They began sending care packages to Hamburg: food, clothing, medicine, and money. Small efforts to bridge the gulf between Anna's 2 identities. The packages couldn't eliminate her guilt about choosing a comfortable American life, but they provided a tangible way to remain connected to the German people, even while rejecting German ideology. As 1945 ended and Anna's first American Christmas approached, she reflected on the year that had transformed her from a Wehrmacht officer to an American immigrant bride. The journey had required abandoning certainties she'd held since childhood, accepting that her nation's ideology had been fundamentally wrong, and committing to building a life in a country that had once been her enemy. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Cooper asked on Christmas Eve as they decorated their first tree together in the farmhouse that was now her home. "I think we made a human choice," Anna replied. "Not necessarily right or wrong in absolute terms, but human, choosing love and future over ideology and past. Maybe that's all anyone can do after wars destroy the certainties we once relied on." Outside, Ohio snow fell on American farmland that was now her home. While in Hamburg, her mother faced a different kind of winter in the bombed German ruins. Anna had chosen one over the other, and she would spend the rest of her life working through the moral complexity of that choice, neither fully regretting it nor fully comfortable with it, but committed to making her chosen future worthy of the sacrifices others had made. Spring 1946 brought Anna's first harvest season as an American farm wife, and growing recognition that her story wasn't unique. Across the United States, hundreds of German war brides were navigating similar challenges of integration, identity, and the complex emotions of having chosen former enemies over homeland loyalty. "There's a support group forming in Columbus," Cooper mentioned one evening, showing Anna a notice from the Veterans Administration. German war brides meeting monthly to share experiences and help each other adjust to American life. "Would you be interested in attending?" Anna seized the opportunity. 2 weeks later, she sat in a Columbus community center with 23 other German women who had married American soldiers and chosen to stay in the United States. Their stories varied in details, but shared common themes: love across enemy lines, difficult choices between homeland and husband, ongoing struggles with guilt and integration. "My husband's family refuses to speak to me," shared Margaret, who had married a soldier from Pennsylvania. "They lost a son at the Battle of the Bulge. And they can't forgive me for being German, even though I had nothing to do with his death. My neighbors call me a traitor when I shop in town," added Helga from Indiana. "Other Germans who immigrated before the war treat me as a collaborator who betrayed the fatherland for personal comfort." Anna found comfort in the shared experiences, recognizing that her struggles weren't personal failures but predictable consequences of unprecedented choices. The group developed support networks, sharing strategies for handling hostility, processing guilt, and building American identities while honoring their German heritage. "We're creating something new," observed Liesel, who had traveled from California to attend the meeting. "Not quite German anymore, not fully American yet. War-bride immigrants building identities that bridge both cultures." The support group became essential to Anna's adjustment. Through monthly meetings, she learned practical skills for American life, cooking methods, social etiquette, regional customs, while also processing the emotional complexity of her choice with women who understood the unique challenges of marrying former enemies. "Do you ever regret it?" Anna asked Liesel during one meeting's break. "Regret staying?" "Never," Liesel replied firmly. "Regret the circumstances that made the choice necessary? Absolutely. I wish there had been no war, no Nazi atrocities, no destruction that made staying in America preferable to returning home. But given those realities, marrying an American and building a life here was the right choice for me." Meanwhile, Anna's integration into Greenville society slowly progressed. She joined the Lutheran Church Women's Group, volunteered at the library, and helped with farm cooperative meetings. Each activity represented small steps toward acceptance, demonstrations that she was committed to contributing to her adopted community, rather than remaining isolated in her German identity. "Mrs. Cooper is different than I expected." Anna overheard one neighbor telling Cooper's mother at church, "She works hard, speaks good English, and really seems to want to fit in here. I was wrong to judge her just for being German." The grudging acceptance felt like a victory, proof that consistent effort and genuine commitment could eventually overcome prejudice rooted in wartime losses. But Anna also recognized that full acceptance would take years, perhaps even a generation, and that some wounds would never completely heal. As summer approached, Anna learned she was pregnant, a development that intensified both her commitment to American life and her complex feelings about identity. Her child would be fully American, growing up without the burdens of German wartime history, but also without connection to her German heritage. "Our child will be American," she told Cooper, her hand on her still flat stomach. "No accent, no divided loyalties, no need to explain or justify a German background. In some ways that's a relief. In others, it feels like erasing part of my identity." "We're transforming it," Cooper suggested. "You're not erasing your German heritage. You're incorporating it into American identity. Our child will know German language and culture through you while growing up fully American." That's bridge building, not erasure. The perspective helped Anna frame her pregnancy positively, not as a loss of German identity, but as the creation of something new that honored both her past and her chosen future. Winter 1946 brought Anna's first American Thanksgiving and Christmas as a mother. Her daughter Sarah had been born in October, a healthy baby who represented the next generation of Americans with German heritage. The holidays also brought unexpected visitors. A journalist from Life magazine researching a story about German war brides and their integration into American society. "Your story represents a broader phenomenon," explained Robert Morrison, the journalist who spent 3 days interviewing Anna and Cooper. Thousands of German women married American soldiers and chose to stay in the United States rather than return to defeated Germany. The American public is curious about these marriages, whether they're genuine love stories or simply immigration strategies. Anna bristled at the implication. "My marriage is genuine. Yes, I wanted to stay in America rather than return to bombed Hamburg. But I also genuinely love my husband, and I'm committed to building a life with him. Those motivations aren't mutually exclusive." "I didn't mean to offend," Morrison replied. "But you have to understand the American perspective. We fought Germany for years, lost hundreds of thousands of soldiers defeating German forces, and now former enemy women are marrying our soldiers and immigrating here. Some Americans see that as suspicious timing, conveniently discovering love for Americans only after losing the war. The accusation stung because it contained partial truth. Anna hadn't fallen in love with Cooper until after her capture. She hadn't considered marrying an American until defeat made staying in America preferable to returning to Germany. The practical motivations were undeniable, but that didn't make the emotional connection any less genuine. "Let me ask you something," Anna said carefully. "If American women had been captured by German forces and offered marriage to German soldiers as an alternative to returning to bombed American cities, would you question whether their choices were genuine? Or would you recognize that people make complex decisions based on both emotion and practical considerations when war destroys their original lives?" Morrison paused, considering her question seriously. "That's a fair point. War creates impossible choices, and judging people for choosing survival and happiness seems harsh. But I still need to understand, and help American readers understand, how German women reconcile marrying men whose armies defeated their country. On day 2 of the 3-day interview, Anna shared her story with the honesty she hoped would help Americans understand the complexity of war bride experiences. She talked about Wehrmacht indoctrination and its gradual dissolution during captivity. She described the American generosity that challenged her assumptions about the character of the enemy. She explained the impossible choice between returning to devastation or staying through marriage to a man she had genuinely grown to love. "The article will run in the spring," Morrison told her before departing. "I think it will help Americans understand that war bride stories are more nuanced than simple gold-digging or collaboration. You're people who made difficult choices under extraordinary circumstances." When the article appeared in April 1947, it featured Anna's story prominently alongside several other German war brides. The photograph showed her holding baby Sarah on the Ohio farm, looking remarkably American despite the accompanying text explaining her German military background. The article's tone was generally sympathetic, though reader letters published in subsequent issues revealed divided American opinion about German war brides. "She's a Nazi who married an American for a green card," wrote one reader from New York. "We shouldn't be allowing enemy soldiers to immigrate just because they found gullible American men to marry. This woman made a courageous choice to build bridges between former enemies," countered a reader from California. Her story shows that individuals can transcend national conflicts through personal relationships. The publicity brought unexpected attention to Anna's small Ohio town. Some neighbors expressed pride that the local family had been featured in Life magazine. Others complained that the article made Greenville look sympathetic to former enemies. Anna found herself simultaneously celebrated and criticized. Her story was interpreted through readers' pre-existing views about the German war, forgiveness, and immigration. "Does the attention bother you?" Cooper asked after Anna received her third hostile letter from a stranger who'd read the Life article. "Less than I expected," Anna admitted. "The hostile letters come from people who've already decided Germans are irredeemable. The supportive letters come from people who recognize war's complexity. I can't change either group's minds, so I'll just focus on building the life we've chosen and proving through actions that German war brides can become genuine Americans." As Sarah's first birthday approached, Anna reflected on how far she'd traveled, not just geographically from Germany to Ohio, but emotionally from Wehrmacht officer to American mother. The journey had required abandoning certainties, embracing complexity, and accepting that some questions about loyalty and honor had no simple answers. By the summer of 1955, 10 years after the war's end, Anna stood in her kitchen preparing dinner while listening to Sarah practice piano in the living room. American songs taught by an American teacher to an American girl who happened to have a German mother. The decade had transformed Anna from a controversial war bride to a respected community member. though the journey had required patience, consistency, and a willingness to prove her commitment to American life repeatedly. Mrs. Cooper, called Emma Peterson, stopping by as she often did during evening walks. "I wanted to thank you again for helping my daughter with her German language homework. You're the only person in town who can actually explain the grammar properly." The casual gratitude represented how completely Anna's status had shifted. The German war bride, once viewed with suspicion, was now the community resource for language instruction, cultural insights, and bridge building between American and German perspectives. Her German heritage, once a liability, had become an asset as Cold War America recognized the value of citizens who understood both cultures. "Happy to help," Anna replied, genuinely pleased that her background now contributed value rather than generating suspicion. "Tell Marie she's progressing well. Her pronunciation is much better than most American students manage." After Emma left, Cooper joined Anna in the kitchen. They both fell into comfortable domestic patterns developed over 10 years of marriage. They had built a successful farm, raised a daughter who represented the best of both cultures, and created a life that honored Anna's German heritage while fully embracing American identity. "Do you ever regret it?" Cooper asked, the same question he had posed 10 years earlier on their first Christmas together. "Never the choice to stay," Anna replied, the same answer she always gave, but now, with the accumulated evidence of a decade to support it. "Though I still carry guilt about the circumstances that made the choice necessary, German war brides like me built comfortable American lives, while Germans who stayed faced occupation, poverty, and decades of shame over Nazi atrocities. But you've helped Germany too," Cooper reminded her, gesturing toward the care packages they still sent monthly to Anna's mother, and the German reconstruction charities they supported. Staying in America didn't mean abandoning Germans who needed help. Through the window, they could see Sarah playing in the yard with neighbor children, fully American kids who accepted her without question about her mother's background. The next generation had moved past wartime divisions that still complicated adult relationships, offering hope that eventually German heritage would be simply heritage rather than a source of suspicion or shame. "There's a reunion next month," Anna mentioned, showing Cooper a letter from the German war bride support group that had been so crucial to her early adjustment. "A 10th anniversary gathering in Columbus. They want me to speak about successful integration experiences." "Will you go?" Cooper asked. "Definitely. I want to thank the women who helped me navigate those early years and share what I've learned about building bridges between German heritage and American identity." At the reunion, Anna found herself among 300 German war brides who had chosen to stay in America through marriage, a significant community that had grown from controversial immigrants to established Americans over a decade. Their stories varied, but common themes emerged: initial suspicion gradually replaced by acceptance, complex feelings about having chosen comfort over homeland loyalty, and pride in having built genuine American lives while maintaining German cultural connections. "We made controversial choices," Anna told the assembled women during her speech. "But we also made human choices. We chose love over loyalty to a defeated ideology, future over a destroyed past, and bridge building over maintaining divisions that war created. Those choices required courage, generated criticism, and came with emotional costs we will carry forever. But look what we've built," she continued, gesturing toward the room full of successful immigrants. "American families that bridge former enemy nations. Children who grow up valuing both German heritage and American identity. Communities that learn that former enemies can become genuine neighbors through patience and mutual respect." 10 years ago, we were controversial war brides suspected of marrying for green cards and accused of betraying our homeland. Today, we're American mothers, wives, workers, and community members who happen to have German backgrounds. That transformation didn't happen automatically. We earned it through consistency, commitment, and willingness to prove repeatedly that our choice to stay was genuine. As the reunion concluded and Anna prepared to return to Ohio, Liesl joined her for a final conversation, reflecting on their shared journey from Wehrmacht officers to American immigrants. "Do you think we made the right choice?" Liesl asked, the perennial question that had never fully been resolved. "I think we made a choice that was right for us," Anna replied, the wisdom of a decade adding nuance to her answer. Earlier certainties. Not right in absolute moral terms. Not right for every German woman who faced similar decisions. But right for us, specifically, given our values, circumstances, and visions for our futures. We chose personal happiness over national loyalty. Liesl observed, "Some people will always judge that as selfish or dishonorable, and some will recognize it as deeply human." Anna countered, "War destroyed the certainties that made loyalty simple. We chose to build new lives rather than remaining loyal to nations and ideologies that had catastrophically failed." If that's selfish, then maybe selfishness is sometimes the most honest response to circumstances that offer no purely honorable options, Liesl added. Indeed, as Anna drove home through the American landscape that had become familiar over a decade, she reflected on her journey from enemy prisoner to American citizen, from controversial war bride to respected community member, from German officer to mother raising an American daughter. The choice to stay had required abandoning her homeland, accepting guilt about choosing comfort while others suffered, and navigating constant questions about whether her marriage was genuine or simply an immigration strategy. But it had also provided genuine love, a comfortable life, and an opportunity to bridge cultures that war had divided. "Mommy!" Sarah called as Anna entered their farmhouse, running to hug her mother in the unself-conscious way of American children. "Did you have fun at your reunion?" "Yes, sweetheart," Anna replied, holding her daughter close, reflecting on what this fully American child represented. The future that war brides like her had chosen, the bridge between former enemies, and proof that love could indeed transcend the boundaries war had created. She'd chosen the enemy, married an American soldier, stayed in enemy territory, and built a life that contradicted everything Wehrmacht training had taught about loyalty and honor. But in doing so, she had also chosen something profoundly human, the belief that personal happiness and genuine love mattered more than ideologies that had led millions to death and destruction. 10 years later, surrounded by the life she'd built, Anna knew she had made the right choice, not because it was morally pure or free from complication, but because it was authentic to who she had become and what she valued. And sometimes, in the aftermath of catastrophic war, that authenticity was the most honest form of honor available.